Hi everyone, I'm Minh from MLAstro. Today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how do you configure your MLAstro SAL-33 through the SmartWebServer. SmartWebServer is the configuration interface for the MLAstro SAL-33. It is one of the tools in the OnStep suite, and it is an incredible, powerful tool that would give you, access to a variety of configurable variable. You can customize a lot of things, behavior with your mount to make the mount work the way you want. Okay, so in this video, I will assume that you already know how to connect to the Wi-Fi network of the MLAstro SAL-33. If you don't, then in the quick start guide video, I have a section detail how do you connect to that Wi-Fi network and the connect to the SmartWebServer. I will assume that you already know that you can open the browser, enter the SAL-33 IP address to access the SmartWebServer. Okay, so this is the interface that you will be greeted with when you open the SmartWebServer on your SAL-33. So first thing first, you can see that on the controller tabs, we have the configuration for the axis, the RA and the declination axis. These are the configuration for the motor. It regulates the motor currents and some behavior like micro-stepping. On default, all of those advanced settings has been disabled, and you can enable them by clicking here, right? And those settings are now available for editing. First, we see that on the state region here, we have the we can select the mode of operation that you want to run your SAL-33 in. It supports 3 modes. First is the GM, which means German equatorial mounts. It is the default equatorial mount setting of the SAL-33. Right. The second is the EQ equatorial fork, or the third is out azimuth mounts, so you can operate your SAL-33 in a out azimuth setting, right? But I will keep for our demo purposes, I will keep the setting at 1. If you want to change the setting, you can change it to 2 or 3, then click upload. Then after you do a reset, the track mode of the mount will be changed to the operation mode that you choose. Okay, so I will make a detailed videos on how do you convert your SAL-33 into the RAS mounts later. Okay. Secondly, we can see that on the axis 1 is the RA configuration, right? And this is, I think this is mostly all of the modification, the configuration will take place, right? And because the declination, we do not have to touch it very much, but most of the, tweaking the configuration will go into the right section, right? First thing that we see the driver status. It's show OK here, meaning the driver is tracking. If it so stands still here, meaning the driver, the motor is not running. Okay, the mount is tracking here, right? If I turn the tracking off here, right, there, and I go back to the motor, you can see the driver status show at standstill. This can serve as a diagnostic tool for your RA and declination, right? Reading this driver status can tell you a lot about the status of your motor. It can throw up error, for example. If you slew your mounts and when you keep pressing slewing but the mount is not moving, you can come to this page and read the driver status. It will give you an idea of what's happening under the hood, right? For example, the mount can show that you are, for example, you are hitting one of the limits. It will show here that the one of the axis is hitting limit, and you can slew that particular axis out of the limits, right? So these are very important, and if the mount is not working, the first thing that you have to do is go back to this page and pay attention to what the driver status is telling you. Okay, it is a diagnostic tool for you. Okay. In the step degree here, this value here is pre-calibrated in the factory, and it's generally stay about 0.5% around the correct value. So it's pretty close, but in some case, if you're tracking in right accession, you can still see a slight drift when you track. So this number here can be tweaked to make the right accession to match the serial speed, right? So tweaking this number will make the right accession go slower or faster when it track. Generally, you don't have to touch this, but if you see a large drift in RA, you can tweak this to make the mount match the true serial speed. Okay. This min max is you don't have to touch. This is the correct value. It prevents your mount from slewing go 360 degree. So these generally work well. Then you have the setting for your motor. We have the reverse on. This is by default. This is on because the way we wire the motor on the SAL-33, right? 99.9% of the case that won't happen, so you don't have to touch this. Okay, just know that you have the ability to reverse the rotation of your motor if you need it. Okay. Here is the micro step. It's the micro stepping when you tracking. You don't have to touch it too. If you change this value, you have to change the stepper degree to match the micro stepping. But I recommend you, if you don't know what it is, I recommend you to not to touch it. Okay. The same goes for micro stepping Goto, right? Configurable, and they are the regulated current of your the SAL-33 used to run your motor, right? This we set 1000 milliampere, meaning 1 ampere of current is providing to the motor when it is not running, when it stands still, right? Similarly, this is 1.4 amps is provided nettling to the motor when it is tracking, and 1.6 amps is providing to the motor when it's doing Goto. So for the motor of the SAL-33, it has a rated maximum current of about 1700 milliampere. But for practical purposes, because the heatsink of the motor driver as well as the motor is limited, the mount has tiny enclosure, right? So we have to limit the amount of current used, and we refrain from using the maximum current that is possible with the motor. So we usually use lower currents than the rated current of the motor. If you need more torque when you use like a really heavy rig, right? You can increase this number, but never exceed, for tracking, never exceed 1600, right? And for the Goto, never exceeds 1700. These are the maximum value that the kind of heatsink in the motor can support, and it defaults to this value. This is working well for 99% of the case. In some very extreme case, like when you are tracking using your mounts in extreme cold weather, right? In extreme cold weather, the efficiency of the gearbox is reduced, so you have to increase the current a little bit, but never exceed 1600 for checking and 1700 for motor running. Exceeding this number will definitely fright your stepper driver or your motor, and you will not be covered under warranty if you do that. Okay. So definitely exercise this configuration with care, or otherwise you might severely damage your mounts. If you have a really light setup like 4 or 3 kilograms, reducing the checking current to 1200 milliamps might even get you smoother checking, because the higher the current is, the more likely the stepper motor will have some oscillation to it, some vibration to it that degrades the checking quality. So using the lower current is actually beneficial if you are having a lighter setup on your SAL-33, right? So experimenting with lower current is a worthwhile experiment, and I think if you are running lightweight setup, you might benefit from lowering the current rather than increasing the current, right? Increasing the current will give you more torque, but it will make the motor and the driver run hotter, shorten their lifespan, and it will give the motor some oscillation, and maybe it will degrade your checking accuracy, right? Okay, so we have here is the decay mode. Both of the decay mode for the checking and Goto is set to stealth chop. We have another chop mode is press cycle, right? Having the chop mode as stealth chop will give you the most quiet operation. The motor chirping will be reduced. If you put it to press cycle, you might have a tiny bit of increased torque, right? But the motor noise is much pronounced when you slew or when you track, especially when you track. If you set this to spread cycle, you will hear the hissing sound of the motor when it tracks slowly. Right? After changing this value, you have to press upload and do a reset, and the setting will be applied on your next power on. The same goes for the declination axis. Right? You can see that the motor current in the declination is set lower than the right ascension, because generally the declination usually has require less torque because there is less unbalanced load, right? This current is set lower on the declination, and I usually don't have to touch this declination configuration because it usually works well. So that is the first tab of configuration, right? The second tab of configuration is the mount tab, right? You see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 8 section here, right? I will go through one by one. First thing, you have the time and location, right? The time and location, when you press set date time, it will sync the time from your computer to the time and location on your mount, right? Secondly, you can manually set the coordinate of your mount through the web interface. The first thing you should do when you power on your mount for the first time is to set the time and set the coordinate, right? The SAL-33 has a battery, so the clock will be, when you power down the mount, the clock will still run with the battery, the onboard battery. So you only have to set the time once. Right? The longitude, latitude, you have to change if you change the observing side. These number, if you press upload, it will not require a reset, right? The value will be updated immediately, and you don't have to reset the mount to have a new value here, right? Okay, so very important to have the correct longitude, latitude. I can see that a lot of people have bad Goto, mostly because they set the wrong longitude and latitude, right? Make sure that you have correct coordination before you start doing Goto. Then we have the homing and parking. This is also a very important section here. We can do return home here, right? We can do home reset. I have already detailed how do you do return home and reset home on the quick start guide video. You can check out that video. We have the park and park here, right? If you park your mouse, default it will go to the home position and it will stop on tracking. If you want to slew the mount, you have to unpack it first before you can slew your mount again. Okay, so the mount is parked, and if it's parked, you can press this button, the slew button, and it will do nothing. You have to unpack your mount before you can slew it or doing Goto again. SAL-33 support a custom park position, meaning that the default park position is the same as the home position, right? Scope pointing to the north, the celestial pole, counterweight at 6 o'clock, right? But you can park the scope horizontally. The counterweight is at 3 or 9 o'clock, and the scope can stay horizontally. This is very important for me personally, since my row of roof will hit the scope. It's parked at the home position, right? So you just slew the scope to the position you want to park, and you click set park here, right? And it will record that position as parked anytime next time when you click park here, it will automatically go to that position and it will hold there. Okay. This is very important for me personally, right? It has an automatically home at startup. I recommend to keep this up because it automatically return the mount to the home position. It's a sudden movement and it might cause damage if the mount is not there's something in the way of the mount. When it's slew, it might damage your mount and your rig. So keeping this off is my recommended. But it's off by default, right? The align here. So SAL-33 support mount modeling with up to 200 points, right? But for that you have to use the Sky Planetarium software of Howard Dutton, the author of OnStep X project. But for the align model here, you can do without the computer, you can do up to 9-star mount modeling. It will model the sky and compensate for some mount sag or optical sag along the way, right? So it's a pretty good way to model the mount. I will have another tutorial on how you do that. Today we will not touch this model here. Okay, go to down. We have the Goto, right? This is an important tab too, right? In this tab, the main parameter that we should pay attention to is the maximum slew speed. So the SAL-33 has a set maximum slew speed at 4 degrees per second, but you can reduce that max speed to 3 degrees per second or 2 or 1.3 or 1, right? So lowering the maximum slew speed will give you more torque, right? The mount will be able to slew with heavier load, right? Also, if you are slewing in a very cold climate, you're operating in your sub-zero temperature, I recommend to reduce the maximum slew speed to 3 or 2 degrees so that you have more torque and you can compensate for the drop in the gearbox efficiency, right? Because of the colder climate. But for room temperature, above 0 Celsius, then 4 degree is the speed that you should set. The man will slew faster, go to faster, right? You have the Goto alert booster. This is set it up because the SAL-33 doesn't have a buzzer. Automatic Meridian flip at limits. I set this as on and it's default at on, meaning if the mount hit the Meridian flip limit, it will automatically flip. If this set to off, the mount will stop at the limit and you have to issue a go-to so the mount can flip to the other side. The Meridian flip pause at home. Many people thought that this is the setting that is the anti-cable snag feature, but it is not, right? And it has to be kept off. If it keep it on, every time the Meridian flip happen, the mount will stop at home and you have to manually click OK to make the mount continue to go to. If you are using an automated rig with a software controlling the mount, then you have to keep it at off or the automated Meridian flip sequence will never complete because the mount stops middle of the way. Okay. One of the other very important setting is the Meridian flip preferred PSI. Right? This is default at east and it should be set at east. Right? If you do not set it at east, the automated Meridian flip sequence in your software like Nina, K-Star, when it's doing a imaging sequence and it automatically flip the Meridian, right? Those will not work if you do not set this to it. So if you see the this setting at anything other than it, set it back to it, okay? And if you see the Meridian flip pause at home anything other than off, then set it as off, okay? Okay, I will explain this a little bit later. The Meridian flip prefer PSI a little bit later, right? Okay, the library here. It is the catalog. You can insert the catalog here and upload it to the mount to have the mount doing go-to, right? I do not use this at all because I usually use go-to on my computer. This is the guide, guide section, right? On the guide section, it has two guide rates, right? And it is very misleading, but I will explain. The first row here is that the guide rate, actually the guide rate when you guide like with PSD2, right? It has three optional speed, 0.25, 0.5, and 1x side rail, right? This is actually the guide rate, right? And the row below it, it said it is guide, but it actually the slew speed of the mount, right? When you set the slew speed at those and you press this button, it will go with the speed on the second row here, right? So at the maximum slew speed here, if you set it to max, it will go at the speed that it's set over here in the go-to tab, right? If you set it 3, then the VVF here will be 3 degrees per second. If you set it to 4, then when you set it to max, it will be 4 degrees per second. The second is very fast. It's half of the maximum rate. So if you have maximum rate set at 4 degrees per second, then this one will be 2 degrees per second, right? And you can use this, arrow key to slew the mount as you would with a, hand controller, right? So we have here the tracking tab, right? The tracking section, and as you can see that since I have the mount parked, if I turn the tracking it on, nothing happened, right? Because I'm packing the mount, right? I have to unpack the mount, and the tracking is automatically turned on, right? I can turn it off or turn it on, right? So when the mount is powered on, the tracking is automatically set to on, right? If you don't want it to track, you have to turn it off manually. So for tracking, we have 4 rate here. This is the sidereal rate, right? We have lunar rate, we have sun rate, solar rate, and we have the king's rate, right? Also, we have the compensated tracking rate. It will take into consideration the pointing model, the mount modeling that you built over here, and the refractions, the atmospheric refraction into consideration, right? You can take both the pointing model and refraction into consideration of the track rate, or you can track with compensation for the refraction only, and you can do that on both right ascension and declination, or right ascension only. Okay, so the last one, this one is also important, right? So this one, it has the backlash and limits. For harmonic mounts, we don't have to use this backlash setting at all. It has virtually no backlash. For the limits, you can see that the horizontal limit is default minus 30 degree, and the overhead is 90 degree. This is the correct value, and do not change those. Okay. The only limits that you should be customizing depending on your use case is the Meridian limits, right? So there are 2 Meridian limits. One is past Meridian to the east of here, and the other is past Meridian to the west of here. This is of course depending to how your setup is. If you have a very long scope and it easily hitting one of the tripod leg, then you have to set the Meridian flip more conservative, right? You can have a negative value so that the limit will stay on the other side of the meridian, right? But for default, I think 5 degree is a good value, right? So how those values, those limits work, if you set the past meridian at 5 degree, right, then the mount will check past meridian 5 degree, and then it will do an automatically, when it hit that 5 degree, it will do a automatic flip on this setting here, right? It automatically flip at 5 degree past meridian. And if you have your mount, your automation software like the Nina or K-Star, the sequencer, imaging sequencer, in the imaging sequencer, you always have a setting on how do you want your mount when do you want your mount to flip, to do the meridian flip when it passed meridian, right? For example, in Nina, I don't know if they set it to how many minutes you want the mount to check past meridian before it do the automation flip, right? So for the setting here, we have 5 degree past meridian, meaning that it has about 20 minutes of track time before the auto flip kick in, right? So you have to set the flip limit in your software before it hitting this hard limit on the mount, right? So for if I set here 5, then on the software you should have set it to 0, 1, 2, 3, but not over 5, right? So also this is you can upload this and it will be chained directly. You do not need to do a reset for this to take to be in effect, right? So very important. I think 5 degree is a good start, and you can set the meridian flip on your software is 1 or 2 degree, right? Okay, so that is the mount setting, and the last tab we have the network setting. The setting is the password to open this is password like this, and you open the controller, right? So we have here is the station mode, which I'm enabling this, right? You can enter your Wi-Fi network ID and the password here, right? And you should enable DHCP if your access point support that, or you can untick this and enter your IP address here, right? And this is to connecting your SAL-33 to your home network, right? For example, I'm connecting it to my home network, and it is connecting to the MLAstro Wi-Fi network here, right? Or we can have it, broadcasting the, Wi-Fi network on its own, right? I demo this in the quick start guide video. But remember, uh, you never should have both of these enable station mode and enable access point mode unchecked, and you click upload them and you reset. If you do this and you upload both of them disable, you'll be locked out of the smart web server, right? The mouse still running as usual. You can still plug it into your computer, but you will lose access to the smart web server because the Wi-Fi is off, right? So you have to keep this one of these on, right? If you have this off, you have to remove the motherboard from your mount, and you have to change the jumper, and then you have to reflash your ESP, the smart web server MCU, to get back access to the smart web server. It is a huge nuisance. So remember, never ever untick both of the box, upload them, and reset the mount. You will lose access to the smart web server. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. Okay, so you can see that for this for my application, I just use the station mode. If the station mode have this, you enable the station mode, right? But if you get into the field and there is no Wi-Fi connection, there's the MLAstro here is not available, then the mouse will automatically turn on the access point mode, right? But it will not do that if you disable the station mode too, right? So keep either one of them enabled, so you can access the smart web server either through the access point that is broadcasting by the mount, or the mount connecting to the same Wi-Fi network as you do, right? On the OnStep project page, they recommend that we enable either one of them, but not both at the same time, since it creates some performance issues. I personally do not see that issues, but well, I would prefer to stick with the recommendation and enable just this station mode, right? When the station mode is enabled and you do not have the Wi-Fi, the access point mode will automatically be turned on, so no worries. Okay, so that is everything that I think that should be noted for your MLAstro SAL-33. And please note that Wi-Fi connection is mostly for accessing the smart web server and quick controlling of your mounts. You're not supposed to connect to the mount and guide it with through the Wi-Fi network. For guiding, we recommend to plug in the USB cable. It will provide a low latency, no interference connection between the laptops or your ACA and the mounts, and it is highly recommended that you connect your mount and your PC with the USB cable. All right, so that is everything that I have for today. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye bye.